guys, and we are back after the new year to the JYD podcast. And this week I'm joined with Hyrox or hybrid athlete Jake Dearden. I would say this lad is definitely a proper hybrid athlete. He races Hyrox to the top level. He's done a sub 2:30 marathon, and as we're going to hear later on in this episode, that he's actually in Houston at the moment getting ready to have an attempt at a sub 2:20 marathon, which is an awesome achievement in itself, and especially as that's not even his day job, that's just his pastime. His full-time job is a Hyrox athlete. So yeah, Jake, how you doing? Do you have a good Christmas, and how's life treating you at the moment?
First of all, thank you for having me on, Joe. I do really appreciate it. I've been a big fan of your podcast. I love listening to them if I'm out running or on the bike. Yeah, it's a good way to pass time, an entertaining way to pass time, should I say. And I've learned so much. So yeah, thank you for doing this. But yeah, I've had a great Christmas. I've just been, I should say, probably locked in training, focused on trying to prep for this marathon. What about yourself? Have you had a nice Christmas?
Yeah, for me, it was quite laid back because obviously I haven't got any big races really until like my first big one is end of March. So it wasn't too, it wasn't like I had to be really locked in like you. I mean, what is the date of that? If the marathon is at the 12th, something like that? Like when?
Yes, it's this Sunday, the 11th. So
the 11th
Sunday, and as I don't know if you know, but like in America, the starts seem to be a lot earlier. I don't know if it's just because of the heat when it gets up to midday, but we're starting, I think, at 6:45 in the morning. So
6:45?
Early start. Yeah, early start.
Yeah, that's like an Ironman start time. That is, they love an early start in America for them. But that's tough to get ready, isn't it? Really, I think for a marathon, because I mean, when we do the triathlon, it's like it is quite hard at the start and fairly intense. But I don't think it's quite like running. You know, like I know when I do sessions in the morning, like when our early sessions start at like 8:45, it takes me a little while to get going. You know. And 7 something in the morning, I think I'd struggle with that because you can't afford to kind of build into it really in the marathon, can you? You know, when you're setting yourself a good goal and you go in there purely for a time, it's like you just need to lock in. Like for you, it's like 3:18s, 3:19s, isn't it? Just keep ticking them off. You can't afford to start off like 3:20 something because you just can't get the seconds back, can you? What you lose, like so yeah, that's a tough one. But how did you find training over the Christmas block? Because I always find it quite hard because there's so many distractions going on, you know, with like family wanting to do things, a lot of people being off, and obviously this year the weather was a bit hit and miss. I don't know if you got out just before all the snow or the ice came recently, or if that caught some of your training, but were you able to get all the training in that you wanted to?
I tell you what, I think so my last Hyrox, I've not been like training full on for this marathon for a long time. I have been like building, but with always concurrently with Hyrox. So my last Hyrox major, which again, like I say, is my day job, so that's the one where I need to really, really focus on, was the 13th of December, and that was in Australia. So we flew back from there. So from the 15th of December, I've just been training, just literally a kind of like a 4-week marathon block, if that makes sense. But I've been still running kind of like anywhere between 100k and 100 miles for probably around the last 4 months, I'd probably say. So we've still been getting in the miles, but specifically just focusing on the running. I've been doing that since 15th of December, and it's been great, you know. I think before Christmas and before the New Year, the weather was perfect. Like, yeah. It was dry, it was crisp, it was about 3 degrees every single day, and getting out, running up north, it was beautiful. I live near Rivington Pike. I don't know if, well, the Ironman. So yeah. Ironman Wigan, or Ironman Bolton, should I say? That's not an actual Ironman anymore. It's a half, right?
Yeah, that's right. But you can't be telling me it was sunny up there. I went to university in Manchester, and I don't think I ever saw the sun in like 2 or 3 years of being up there. Like, it couldn't have been blue skies.
I think we kind of like had our heat wave, our sun wave over Christmas. But yeah, so I live right at the bottom, as you know, of like that hill that you climb during the Ironman. So Rivington Pike. So running around there in autumn time, winter time, it's beautiful. So that's when I've just been doing all my training, and You know what? I've absolutely loved just being able to run and not having to focus on the other disciplines of Hyrox. It's been great just kind of going and focusing on one. I don't know if you have ever had that opportunity, doing triathlon where you can focus mainly just on one of the three disciplines, and how much time and effort you can put into it, how much recovery you can have between sessions. Like it's great. We don't have, as triathletes, we don't have the luxury of, or Hyroxers, we don't have the luxury of doing that often.
Yeah, when I've been injured actually in the past, a couple of times in my career, I've had some injuries that have taken me out of running, so I hadn't been able to do any running for like 3 months twice, and I was just doing swimming and cycling, and I was recovering like so much better and able to really push the biking up. And then I did a few bike races off the back of that, and actually had some of my best races. And I actually found the running came back really quick, but it was so much easier to actually just focus on two. And I find, especially when you add the running into the mix when you're doing triathlon, it just takes so much out of you. But going back, actually, I just wanted to go back a bit, because a lot of people that are listening to have just started will be Jake Dearden. I get that they've obviously heard from just now what we've said, that you're going for a decent marathon, a sub 2:20 marathon. But how did you get into sport? I did a bit of research and I found this might be right, or you might have to correct me on this, but I saw that you came from an endurance background and you were doing some like big endurance runs, like I think 100-kilometer runs. I don't know if you did 100 mile, but I saw some long ones. And then you were doing some gym stuff, mainly to look good in the gym for the girls, look good on Marbella, and then and then decided you're pretty handy in the gym, you're pretty handy at endurance. Hyrox seems pretty good for that, because you got to be strong and you got to be fit. And then was that just, you kind of slipped into it that way, found out that you were pretty good, and then just got more and more serious, and you've turned to the dark side now, where you're just smashing the training and trying to see how good you can get?
You kind of hit the nail on the head there. Yeah, so I started off back in school. I did Harriers, so athletics. I was part of the middle distance club, but I was never any good, because I always used to go to the gym with my mates as well. I was always like the skinniest person out of all my friends. They all love lifting weights, so I just used to jump on with them, and I just always loved from a young age the progression that you see in training. I feel like it's so simple. Like, you apply the stimulus, you rest and recover, and you get gains, whether that's fitness gains or whether that's strength gains in the gym. So I was always kind of hooked on that. So I did the gym work and then did the running, but like I say, was never in the top percentile of running, because I was always a little bit heavier and too heavier to run. But after that, I then got into kind of like the self-development, David Goggins era, as everyone does. I feel like everyone my age has probably gone through a stage of that.
How many years ago was that, sorry, when you got into the David Goggins era?
I think the first ultra marathon I ran, I think I was 18 or 19.
Oh, wow. So you were like really young.
Yeah, so at the moment I am 27. So yes, that 8 years ago, I probably 9 years ago, I probably got into like the David Goggins stuff. So that's when he first went on like Joe Rogan and things like that. And I signed up to a marathon, got hooked on that. I ran my first marathon. I think I got 3:16. My first ever marathon, Manchester Marathon. And then from then, I decided I just wanted to test myself how far I could push myself. So I went and signed up to 100k, which was the East Devon round. And that was quite hilly, but it was an incredible experience. Looking back, one of the hardest things I've ever done, but looking back, it was cool.
Mentally, one of the hardest things that you've ever done, or was it a mixture of both, physically and mentally as well? Like, if you can you think back to how you felt when you were doing that?
I think with ultramarathons, people have got to understand that it's not healthy to do, really. Like, if you was training for optimal health, you wouldn't run ultras. Like, you wouldn't do it, because you have to run through the pain, and it's not just pain of like burning sensation like it would be when you're pushing yourself physically. It's more of something's hurting, your knee's hurting, your ankle's hurting, and you've just got to keep going no matter what. So and you've got to have that mindset of kind of pushing through, and you're finishing this no matter what. No matter if you break a leg, no matter what, you're finishing the race. And that's what I feel like builds the mental side more than anything.
Right.
I feel like I had that from quite a young age and built it and learnt that kind of mental toughness. And then you do other things like running marathons, doing a Hyrox. And yes, it hurts, and yes, it's painful, but it's never as painful as running through injuries, basically.
So that's what it's like when you're doing these 100K sometimes. It's like you get to the point where your body feels like it's breaking down, and you're like, I think I might, I'm not sure if I'm going to injure myself. Like, I think I might be all right, but it feels pretty bad, and you're just kind of like fighting through it, you know?
I think any elite, like ultra endurance athlete, will probably they won't give in unless it's severely detrimental, where they're going to be out for 6 months to a year after. If they're out for a month after, they don't care. Like if they're going to have an injury, in my opinion, like they're going to finish that race no matter what. When you look at kind of like I spoke to Tom Evans. Do you know the guy that won UTMB?
Yeah.
It's kind of like do or die. Do you know that's the mentality that you've got to have going into these things. And if you don't have that, then you're going to come up short, because during 100 miles or 100K, I've done both. Like, something is going to hurt. You are going to bump into problems. Your body isn't that resilient where you're going to finish the race and feel absolutely fine. Like there is no chance of that happening. No matter how well you prepare, or maybe I've just never prepared enough, and maybe Tom might, argue different. But I think there are levels where, like even in like the UTMB, painkillers are abused. Like, just mild ones, whether it's painkillers, ibuprofen, like it's all abused, and people have got to be really careful with that. It's not a healthy sport whatsoever, in my opinion.
Yeah. So they're obviously abused because the point where people's bodies just feel in so much pain, not to like push themselves to like that burning sensation, like where you're, in a 5K.
They just want to finish, Yeah,
it's just like I'm like, your knee, like you said, your knee or something like that feels really painful, and you're like, well, I can't flip and stop now. I've got like 20 miles to go. I'm in the middle of nowhere. Plus, I want to get to the end, and I want to like get a good result. Like I just need to. If my knee wasn't hurting, I'd be all right. And then they get to the end, and painkillers wear off, and they're like, oh my god, what have I done to my knee?
So I think it definitely builds some form of mental resilience, and I think that is great, and I think I've learnt that. But moving on from there, like I then did that for a couple of years, and I started to feel the side effects of it. Like I felt like a 50-year-old man.
Really?
And I was, in my 20s, hobbling downstairs like every single day. I'd wake up, and for the first hour, I couldn't move. Like if you told me, oh, we're going to go for a run this morning, like I'd be the first 2-3 kilometers, I'd be in real pain with just like Achilles tendons, calves, and things like that, just being sore all the time. And I think that's just from not looking after my body and kind of just pushing through the pain and just I just thought it was normal. I just got to a point where I thought it was normal, and I soon realised, like, when you start training for performance, it's definitely not normal.
So
and
what were
that's
you
probably
doing,
the difference.
training-wise? What were you doing at that kind of point in time when you were feeling like that? Were you just going out for, like, say, 4-hour runs or something like that, 3-4, like, loads of long runs, or was it just the race?
So it's all about time on feet with ultramarathon stuff. So you're building time in the hills, and you might be out there, 5-6 hours some days. So it's very taxing, especially running. Like, it's not like you can, and you probably could do a lot of your cross training now. I didn't think about cross training either. So every single training was running, and that was the element. And then I was trying to lift weights in the gym, just to try and maintain a little bit of muscle. And be this kind of like hybrid functional guy that David Goggins made out he was going to be. So it was kind of, it was cool. And like I say, I learned a lot, but I don't envy them days anymore. Like I'm glad we're past them.
So you were doing this into the start of like COVID then, when it hit, and then was it at some point during COVID when you came across Hyrox, and what was kind of like the switch that made you go from doing the ultra endurance stuff, and then actually I want to not only do Hyrox but like take it more seriously and actually train to performance. What was the switch, and how did that all happen?
So when I was doing the ultramarathon stuff, I was a civil engineer. I was learning to be a civil engineer, and I did 6 years in that role, from 16 all the way up to 21, 22. And then after that, I realized this wasn't for me, and my passion was helping people. So I became a coach. I became a nutritionist, and I became a personal trainer. And I trained out of a hybrid style gym. And this was before hybrid was really a thing. There was CrossFit gyms, and then there was bodybuilding gyms. And that's really it. Where the gym that I was at, it was more just combining, heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, heavy bench press with functional fitness. So, box jumps, ergs, rowing machines, ski machines, bike, running, and things like that, and just building fitness. So I trained like that for a couple of years. And then I think in 2022, I first heard of Hyrox, and a couple of the gym was taking people down. So I think 60 of us from the gym went down, our little community went down to do a Hyrox. And I hadn't really trained for it, but technically I'd been training all my life for it, but I hadn't trained specifically for it. So I went there, and I came first in my age group. And that was the moment where I thought I actually have potential in this. Decided to train and put a training block in place. Did 12 weeks, and then went and got my age group world record for the open category 12 weeks after training for it. So after that, that's when it started to kind of... From there, I probably every year I'd say I've got more and more serious to the point now where I'm a full-time athlete. I have sponsors. I educate people. I still coach, but my main role now is to perform within Hyrox.
I just want to say as well, for those that are listening that aren't actually 100% entirely sure what a Hyrox is 8 1K runs. So you do a 1K run, and then you do 8 functional exercises. Jake, you best tell them the order of what the functional exercises are, because I'm not 100% sure I'll get it in the right order.
So we've got 1,000 meter ski erg, then we've got a 50 meter sled push, a 50 meter sled pull, then we've got 80 meters of burpee broad jumps, then we've got a 1,000 meter row, then we've got a 200 meter farmer's carry, a 100 meter walking lunge, and then we finish with 100 wall balls before you finish cross the finish line.
And I mean, I've done 2 of them, and I would say that, like, they seem to me like you're running a half marathon, but you have these exercises that force you to go in the red. Like, I find like the stations just take you can't, it's like the way they're developed. Like, for instance, that burpee broad jumps. I don't know about you because you actually train for it, but for me, there's no easy way to get to the end of burpee broad jumps. Like, if I take it easy, I lose 3 minutes that I'm never going to get back. And these stations just force you to go above your limits, and then it's like it's so good. It's so similar to the running off the bike in a triathlon, because you start the runs, and gradually as it goes throughout the race, you feel slightly more and more fucked. And then you have this exercise, this, like, I don't know, sled push, burpee broad jump, farmer's carry, all these little exercises, these stations that just take you over the red line, spike your lactate, and then you're trying to run at as close to your threshold pace, I think, as you can, while not putting yourself in an absolute hole for the next one. And then for me, the final nail in the coffin was the wall balls, and it was just a flipping hour of misery, really.
I was just about to say, did you enjoy it? But you've just answered my question.
No, I did enjoy it, and you know what? For those of you that are listening to this that are thinking, oh, that sounds intriguing, I'd like to give it a go. The atmosphere is amazing in these Hyroxes. I mean, you've competed in the Elite 15s, and that must be amazing because you're the only guys that are. For those that don't know, there's basically the top 15 people around the world. I think you do it on times, don't you? And if someone's just outside the top 15, it will like roll down, similar to how it would work in triathlon. Like if someone doesn't take the spot. But basically, the top 15 guys go to have these events where they race them for prize money, and they're televised on YouTube. I would definitely recommend looking them up because the racing's amazing, isn't it? It comes down to such fine margins. I watched the last one. I think it was the one in Australia that you said you were competing in, and I think it came down to like 2 or 3 seconds at the end. The leads are constantly yo-yoing throughout, and yeah, I can imagine the atmosphere must be absolutely pumping in there. The music, you've got great tunes while you're going along. I mean, it's good. It is good fun, and I did like it. For me, if I can't train properly for it, then I wouldn't really want to give it a go, because I want to, if I do one, I want to like actually be able to train for it and do myself justice. Whereas I kind of feel like I'm turning up and I'm like I'm setting myself up for failure, because I have quite high standards in my head, and without actually training for it, I can't reach them high standards. So I kind of like, it frustrates me. But I do love it. I do think it's a great time, and I like, my wife did one, and I went down there and supported her, and it was awesome. Like, even being a spectator, it was amazing. It was so dynamic, and the hour and a half just flew by.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And I think you just being a perfectionist with, you know, your training and want to give it your all and want to do your best time, that's just the elite athlete in you. Yeah.
What?
So, oh, sorry, go on.
No, go on. You go first.
I was just curious. I was going to ask the race that you've got in. Do you say March? Your first race?
Yeah, so I've got my first race is like end of March. It's a 70.3 in California, so a half Ironman.
Nice. How are you feeling for that?
I'm feeling really good, to be honest. Like, I mean, I did a 5K. I got a 5K PB the other day, like official PB, which was good. I mean, considering it's like end of December time, so that puts me in the right in like a good position for this time of year. And the swimming's going really well. Biking, I think, is going quite well. I mean, a lot of it's indoors at the moment because the weather's like cold and a bit dodgy. But yeah, it seems like things are going in the right way, certainly for this time of year anyway.
Oh, that's good. And I've actually got a question on this, on the biking specifically. Obviously, you being in the UK, like, you do a lot of your biking indoors because of the poor weather. How much, or if you was to kind of put a percentage on it, how much would you suggest doing outdoors? As much as you can, or would it be just close to the race, you know, getting efficient at the kind of roads that you're going to be on, you know, if it's a lot of downhills, practicing them and getting more technical close to the race? Or yeah, how would you kind of like split it up, indoors and outdoors?
Well, for me, normally I would try and ride as much as I can outdoors, like, because I kind of feel like it's more fun and I do get the best out of myself. But I think it comes down to, as well, when the weather's really cold and it's really wet, can you get the same quality out? Like, if it's like wet and you're riding in the dark and you're having to ride at a lower power to see where you're going, then your training's like definitely you're sacrificing the quality of your training. But if you can, like, you're in somewhere where the weather was a bit nicer and you could actually see where you go and you can ride at a decent intensity if you wanted to, I would say it's probably better to ride outside, because, like you said, with the technical bits, you can like practice, you know, how you handle the bike and everything. And I also feel like it's easier to push the power outside, because mentally, well, for me personally, having that mental stimulation of being outside and generally with other people doing it, it makes it a lot easier. But at this time of year, if the weather, like, I wouldn't, for instance, like for me now, if it's like, if I think there's going to be ice on the road, then I wouldn't even risk it, because if you go down on one corner and you break your collarbone, it's like you're out for 6 weeks, maybe 2 months, and it would just be so detrimental to your training. But I also think now as well, the training programs that you can use indoors, like Ruby, Zwift, you know, a lot of all those, they make it so much more fun than what it used to be. Like when I was young, and I've been doing cycling for quite a while now, and I remember like when I was probably about 20 and I was like training for it, like Zwift didn't even exist. So like when you were doing indoor riding, it was literally like you were staring at a wall. There was no like TVs that you would have in front. It would just be in a shed in the back of your garden, and it would just be, it'd be mind-numbingly boring. Whereas now, actually, I've got flipping YouTube in front of one of my indoor bikes. I've got another TV screen with like an indoor thing, and I do wonder sometimes, like, are we getting a bit soft, you know? Like, it's not really like proper indoor training, is it, where you're like raw dogging it for 3 hours? You've got like flipping YouTube videos. I've actually watched quite a few of your YouTube videos, because yours are brilliant for it, because they're like 30 minutes and they show you some sessions, so that's like great when you do one of them, because it passes a big chunk of time. So that's actually got me through quite a few sessions. But I think, to be honest, it's just doing whatever helps you get the best out of your training you can. If you find it easier to push indoors and to get it done, like because you find it more time efficient, depending on where people live, then that's fine. It doesn't really matter. It's just about what fits in best with your life, really, as the way you do the training.
No, I love that. Would you say it's, in that case, it's very similar to the treadmill as well? Like using the treadmill, like for me, sometimes when it's, say, if it's icy, I'm not going to touch the roads. Like I'm not going to go out because I don't want to risk slipping. But a lot of people shy away from the treadmill. They think, it's cheating. They think it's not very good for running. In my eyes, like it's a tool, and you can use it to your advantage, especially when you're trying to control as many factors as you can. Probably typically during your interval sessions. Like for me, if it's really windy outside and you can't hit kind of like a constant pace because the wind's either behind you or in front of you, yes, you might have to deal with that on race day, but it's much easier to do your training and hit paces if you're on something that's consistent, a treadmill, and you don't have to do the thinking, you just have to keep up with it. I suppose it's the same on the bike. If Zwift is just telling you to hit this certain number of watts for this amount of time, and it's literally counting down the seconds, like it's so much easier to do that rather than you going on different terrain, up, down, and so on.
Yeah, exactly. And I think with the treadmill as well, like it depends what kind of person you are. Like for me, I'll normally try and do like sessions outside just because I find it more fun, and like I would just go by like perceived effort, and I don't get too caught up within the numbers. But then a lot of people would be so set in like run on the treadmill, like that Andreas at Almgren, he does loads of like threshold sessions on the treadmill. I think like every week he does his like 5 by 6 minutes one in the morning on the treadmill, and then a shorter, more intense one. I think he might go to the track for the evening session, but the morning session, I think from what I've heard of him, is always on the treadmill. And some people just like it because they can keep it really consistent. They know whatever kilometers an hour they normally do, they can take the lactate and they can keep it. And I think it just depends what kind of person you are. If you're just someone that wants, you want to keep it in a certain zone, and you're like, I just want to hit this lactate or be in this training zone, I know that speed does it, I know I'm in that shape, and you can just tick the box, and I guess you don't have to worry about thinking about anything. Like I think if I didn't have Techno, who comes out with me on for a lot of my sessions, which is a guy who's retired, he comes on his bike and he paces us. I didn't have my friend who comes with me, I think I'd do more on the treadmill because I'd find it way easier. But because we've got like Techno who comes out, we just like put a speaker on the bike. He's got like, our drinks and stuff like that, and we just run behind him, and he sets the pace. So it works perfect. But if I didn't have him, then I think I'd probably do more on the treadmill because I would just find it easier to just, think, right, 18 kilometers an hour, threshold pace, just set it up, dial into it. So, yeah, I think there's more than, at the end of the day, there's more than, everyone's trying to get to the same destination, but there's more than one road, isn't there? And it's just whatever one you like going down.
Yeah, no, I love that. And it seems like you're living the life of your pacer on the bike. I love that. If anyone's out there and they fancy doing that for me, that'd be dreamy.
Yeah, it is a game changer. So talking a little bit about these Hyrox Elite 15. So that's the pinnacle of Hyrox is basically the equivalent, I guess, of like the major marathons for runners and for the elite, for the Pro Tri Series for triathletes. But I look at that and I see you just run 31:40, I think it was, after didn't you do like 3 by 5K, and then 2 days later you ran like a 10K, a solid 10K time at Ribble Valley? So at Ribble Valley, which is interestingly the hilliest, fastest course I've ever come across in my life. It's so hilly, but like all the times you see and you're like, shit, these are fast, and like it's it's the right distance, it's everything right, but it's so hilly. I don't know if it's because it's hilly in the first 5 kilometers and then the second 5 is more or less like downhill or flat ish, but there's quite a bit of climbing in it, and you don't realize, but it's still fast. And the competition's stacked as well, isn't it? You get a lot of
for sure
top runners doing that. So you're running like some amazing times at that. And then I see you go and do the Hyrox, and in my head I'm thinking, well, he's got to be leading the runs. Like, surely they can't be quicker than him. But like, what's the deal with that? Like, because are you taking it easy on the runs, or are you running the runs hard, but they're just running simply faster than what your fitness is at the moment? Like, talk me through that.
I think, and this is why I feel like runners are good at Hyrox, but they're not, like, if you're a pure runner, you're not going to be at the top of your game with Hyrox. And I think the guys at the top and that are leading the Elite 15, they're so good at running under fatigue, and they're so good at blood shunting. And if you're just a runner, or if you're just a single discipline kind of athlete, then you're not very good at shunting blood from one muscle group to another. For example, if you're doing burpees, you was mentioning the burpees before, saying there's no way that you can finish the burpees and be good on that run. Well, the burpees burn out your shoulders, and the blood is, obviously you're out of breath, but the blood is in your upper body, and then you're moving straight into running, which requires your body to shunt that blood to the lower limbs, and that spikes your heart rate. These guys are just so efficient at that, and are so used to that they can run at essentially their threshold pace for a Hyrox, where you'd probably get, if an elite runner came into Hyrox, they'd be running a lot slower than their threshold pace. And so it's just spending time getting used to that, practicing exactly like race specific things, going from a ski erg into a run, you know, and executing that and focusing on each station like that as well. I think really helps. But yeah, I think that's where they have the advantage, because when they're doing their running training, they're not running that fast. In reality, they're hitting 70-second laps around a 400-meter track. Like, it's not that fast in reality. Like, it's very rare that they'll go under a 3-minute pace, for a 3-minute per kilometre pace for their running. So I am probably the best runner if it was, or one of the best runners if it was just running involved. But it's not, unfortunately, and that's where it's very hard, and there's not one way to train for it.
When you did the Elite 15, the last one, what was your mindset then in your head, like lining up at that race? Were you thinking, right, I'm going to get stuck right in at the start of this run and I'm going to like race from the front, or like what was your mindset, and how did your mentality change during the race as it went on? Like, what were you thinking? What did you use for like motivation? Like, just talk me through how that race went from the start. Your mentality, like as you were lining up, like, you know, because you get lined up, don't you? And the music's pumping. You kind of, your heart rate's at 120, and you're just standing there, and you're like, you know, it's about like it's going to be an hour of pain. Like, what was your mindset from the moment you kind of got onto the line, and talk us through how the race went and how you were thinking at different steps?
So just for the people, I just wanted to mention that I did a solos and then I did a doubles race the day after. For the solos, I came 11th out of the Elite 15, and then so I didn't do very well there. But then we won the solos. We won the doubles, and my partner, he was in the solos as well, and he came, I think, 13th. So we both had really bad, shocking races for our solos, but then we went and won the doubles. So I think, in terms of mentality on that start line, I don't know if this is me just being a realist, I'd probably say, or being British. I don't know if you want to, which one you want to put it as, but I started that knowing that I wasn't going to come first, if you get me. And
what made you think that, though? Because like when I look at your videos, your like training looks like really dialed, and like you seem like you're in top form. Is it just because you thought the others were like, you just thought you heard rumours of what they'd been doing in training, or like what made you think that they were going to beat you?
I just think off times. So the guys at the front of the field, Tim, who won, had just won the World Championships the year before. He had, his personal best is 2 minutes quicker over the entire course than my personal best. He's been in it a lot longer. He's been in it since it started in 2017. And when I say I'm a realist, I just understand that it takes years and years and years to get to the top of the sport. And I can't expect to come in after training for it for probably seriously for 2 years. Like 2 years ago, I wasn't in the Elite 15. He's been in it literally since when it started. I'm just... I just don't believe that I can be first place straight away, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Did you think top five, like when you were lining up, then was like on the cards if you
Yeah,
execute?
that'd be an epic day. Like
Yeah,
if I got top five, I'd be made up with it. Obviously, I was disappointed with the place that I came, but I'm in Hyrox for the long run. I see it lasting a while, and I want to be. My overall aim is to become world champion, whether that's in a couple of years or whether it's in 10 years. Also, most of the guys in the Elite 15 have been professionals in other sports and then have carried over. They're a lot older. They're in their mid-30s, most of them. So I understand endurance sports take a while to build your base, and I've just not had enough years yet of building my base.
So in that race in Australia, when they took it out, who was the one that took the pace out? And did you think, I'm going to try and go with this, or like, what did you think?
So Tim took the pace out, and it's always fast. Like that, on average, they say the top guys are running around a 3:15 per kilometre pace. But you think that's an average of each run, and it's an average from the start of the run to the end of the run. And if you think when you're hobbling off after that sled push, there is no way you're hitting a 3:15 pace straight away. You're building into that. So these guys at the end of each kilometre are running faster than 3:15, and especially for their first kilometre, I think they're probably running high two. They're running faster than a 3-minute kilometre for their first one. So it is pretty fast. And it's also round corners, so it's a 200 metre in the Elite 15 is a 200 metre lap, and you've got to do that 5 or 6 times on the first one, and then it's 5 laps on every single other one. So on every single other run, if that makes sense. So you're running 1.2k for that first bit, and you're cornering so many times. You're cornering 24 times within that 1.2k, so it's hard to keep up the pace. But when I go out, I try and stick with them as long as I can. But you also have to run your own race, and I know I've got a stronger second half finish than my first half. My first half, I'm pretty slow compared to other people, and that's what I need to work on in training.
So do you think like some of these top Hyrox runners, like the ones that are actually competing in the Elite 15, like for instance that Tim and that like Hunter, like would some of them be like low 30-minute 10k runners, do you think?
I think Tim definitely. Tim is a great runner. I think he'll be probably a 31-minute or 30-minute 10K. Hunter, I reckon he's about a 32. I believe I'm a little bit fitter than him right now. But like I say, on a Hyrox it's completely different just because you have got the strength stations. And if you think about, you can't run your best if you're so fatigued from the strength station. So and the heavier you are, the less the strength stations take out of you. It's all kind of like a fine balance, and I don't think anyone's got the perfect kind of puzzle solution to Hyrox training.
If in your head, if you were like to write, or to like say write, if I said to you like, Jake, what is your optimum Hyrox training week? Would there be like double run days in there, double threshold days, or double gym days? Like what do you think, like from what you know at the moment and what you understand, what would be your like optimum like Hyrox training week?
I think we'd probably take the Norwegian training method of double threshold days, and we would adapt that for Hyrox. So I don't think you'd ever do a double run day realistically if you was training for Hyrox, just because I don't think it's needed. So on your double threshold days, you do a run in the morning where you do your interval work, and then in the evening you would do your threshold work on the ergs, so the rower and skier, or you could use a bike or an assault bike, or you could use the actual stations as well. So people don't really think about this, but you can get to threshold heart rate with burpees or wall balls or other things. So making sure that you are practicing the elements and you're getting into the heart rate zones and going off heart rate zones for the exercises that are within Hyrox are super important. And for me, that just allows you to still be able to keep up the running volume, but not kind of overdo it. If you was to do double run days, where would you fit in your threshold work on the ergs? Because you do need to practice going at an intense pace on the rower, the skier, etc. So you'd probably end up overtraining, and with the amount of strength work that you're doing, I don't believe that you can simply do 100-mile weeks. Maybe you might be able to get up to that top end, but if you're pushing your strength work as well, it's very, very hard to do 100-mile weeks. A lot of people probably tap out at 80 kilometers, so 50 miles, and I think that's probably about right that's probably on average for the Elite 15. There will be some people that are doing 100-kilometer weeks, and there'll be some that are only doing 40 or 50-kilometer weeks. There's a couple of guys that literally only do their speed work, running, and then everything else, all their easy stuff, they cross-train, which I find is super interesting, and I don't know whether that'll be...
Tempos running, so they wouldn't go any slower than like tempo running, and then like all their easy stuff would be like rowing machine, ski ergs, stuff like that.
Yeah, so things that aren't as taxing. So it's very interesting, and so they might only do 40 kilometers per week, but that 40 kilometers per week might be 10 to 15 kilometers warming up and cooling down, but after that it's all just threshold work. So they might be doing 30k a week, where they're just at their threshold pace, which is their Hyrox pace, and they don't do anything else running wise, and they'll cross-train, and they'll do the Stairmaster, they'll do the bike erg, they'll do the assault bike, they'll do the row, and they'll do the ski and swimming as their non-impact, lower loading zone 2, and build up their aerobic base. It's very similar in terms of hours to, I believe anyway, to triathlon. It might not be as extreme, but most people are doing 20 hours a week, 25-hour weeks during Hyrox, but obviously it's split over the different disciplines, not just running.
Is the idea basically, like, if you think about it, to try and get as strong as you can without being any bigger than you have to be, and then just getting efficient on the erg? So basically you want to be like, I mean this could be completely wrong because obviously I'm not doing it or haven't really got much experience, but would you want to be doing like some strength work, like deadlifts, squats, stuff like that, trying to get really strong? But obviously you don't want to get too big, do you? You don't want to be like 90 kilos because it's going to massively impact you running. So you want to get strong, and then do you just try and get efficient on like the other stuff? So because the weights, like even when you do the sleds, they're not that heavy, are they? It's more like I thought it was like almost like it's about 2.5 minutes, isn't it? So it's like, it's quite intense that you build up a lot of lactate, but it's like heavy, but not super heavy. It's not like you're moving a really big weight for just 10 seconds, is it? It's like a long, drawn out push, isn't it? Same with the pull, and same with like a lot of the farmers carry. It's like, a couple of minutes or whatever, but then none of the exercises are like really high strength, are they? Where they're done in like 10 seconds. They're kind of like that lingering kind of like lactate thing where you said earlier, you build up a lot of lactate, and then it's like once you get out onto the run, it's like trying to get into your pace quickly, isn't it? Like, when you finish the sled push, it's like you want to be able to just hit your race pace as soon as you can from when you get out onto the run, isn't it? You don't want to be taking 20 or 30 seconds of hobbling before you can hit your pace, because you lose more time than you can get back. What do you think?
No, for sure. I think at the end of the day, Hyrox is more of an endurance race than the strength race, definitely. It is an endurance race. It lasts an hour. And like you say, you do have these spikes where you go anaerobic for a little while, and then you've got to come out of that. And like you say, practicing that are what the top guys are the best at. They're great at getting into the red zone, or just avoiding that, being on the brink of the red zone where they're building up a lot of lactate, and then shunting that out and getting rid of that. So that's where it is. But yes, you definitely don't need to be that strong, and a great way to do your strength work and not build amounts of muscle where you don't really need it and it's inefficient is something that we use, which is contrast training. So this will be where you do a strength lift straight into something that is very like plyometric or very explosive. So you might do back squats into box jumps, and this way we're allowing the muscles to be loaded and loaded heavy, but then we're going straight into an exercise where we're needing the muscles to contract as fast as possible. So it might be box jumps, it might be a sprint on an assault bike or something like that, and this helps kind of build strength within the muscles, build explosivity and power, but then limit the amount of muscle we're actually building, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
As well as obviously like your diet has got to be bang on. If you eat too much, then you start to put on muscle, depending on who you are anyway, depending on what type of person you are. You've got to be kind of like strict, and power to weight ratio really does matter. A fine balance, and like I say, no one's really got that balance right yet. People ask me all the time, what's the optimal weight of a Hyrox athlete? And it can be anywhere. Tim, world champion, 78 kg. You've got people even a little bit lighter than that, but then you've got Hunter, who finished 2 seconds after Tim at the Melbourne Major, and he's 95 kg. Like there's a big variance, and I think it's different for every person, depending on your strengths and weaknesses. But it's super interesting, and I think, it's a sport that's going to continue growing for a little while, I think.
Oh yeah, I think we're going to definitely see the times coming down a lot as people develop their training and really find out what works, because it's such a new sport. People don't really know what the optimum training is, do they? It's all kind of like trial and error at the moment, isn't it? I mean, it'll be interesting to see how it develops over the next 10, 15 years, and maybe if it ends up getting to the Olympics, it seems like it's on the right track to that. That would be great for you, wouldn't it? You'd love that, wouldn't you, if it was in the Olympics?
That'd be my dream. My end goal is that. So if 2032 comes along and we get the all clear for the Olympics in Hyrox, that'd be a dream come true. And that's why I say I want to be in the sport for the next 10 years. One, because I love it, but two, because I imagine if it got into the Olympics, it'd be insane. And it's really cool. It's funny what you say about where it's going to go, whether the run times are going to get faster and stuff like that. And that's where my bets are. If you look at where the world record is at the moment, 53 minutes. I think my PB is a very early 55:12 or something like that. So I'm 2 minutes off the world record. But if that record comes down, people are already doing the stations almost as fast as what is possible in my eyes. Like, I think where time is going to be made up and where we're going to start, everyone's going to start getting faster and faster is on the running. At the moment, like I said, it's probably an average of 3:15 to 3:20 per lap or per kilometre. I think that can get down to eventually probably not shy off the 3 minute K, I think. So that's one of the reasons why I've set this extreme running goal of trying to run a marathon sub 2:20, because I want to get efficient at running and I want to get better at running. And I realise that is kind of a weakness for me. Is yes, I'm okay at running, but I'm not the most efficient runner in the world, and I know that I can get better there. So that's where I'm putting my bets with Hyrox, and then hopefully once I return back to Hyrox, I'm a lot faster.
Yeah, no, I think it makes total sense, because if you can get your run so you're right in the mix with the others, like in the ski ergs and off the ski ergs, I think once you kind of get into like the middle part of it and you're in the mix, it kind of takes care of itself a bit then, doesn't it? Because you're racing other people, you're playing to your strengths, and you get more and more motivation and more confidence, don't you, as the race goes on, if you're right there and you're not like chasing. And I think it's definitely going to pay off, because if you end up running the marathon, you can hold 3:18s for a kilometre. I mean, that's got to give you huge confidence going into the Hyrox races, because you'd be thinking there can't be many others that are running as quick or any quicker, and if they are, it's going to be such minute differences that it shouldn't really make a difference on the 1Ks. One thing I was going to ask you as well, and this is obviously quite quite a big question, and there's a lot of talk about this online. Is there's a lot of speculation in the endurance and like hybrid communities about performance enhancing drugs. What do you think about that? Do you think that's just a lot of noise that people say without knowing anything? Because I hear it all the time, like people saying, "Oh, a lot of people that do in Hyrox are on like performance enhancing drugs," but the people I hear it from have got no idea whether or not they are. They just say it because the guys look, you know, they're like 85, 90 kilos. They look amazing bodies. You know, they're running really quick, and they're just saying it based off that. But obviously, you guys are doing, like you said, 20 hours of training a week, where you're in the gym, smashing 5-6 gym sessions a week, and you're doing like 80-kilometer runs where you're doing threshold sessions. So it's like you're pushing yourselves to the extreme. Is that just a lot of noise that people are saying, or do you think there is some something to go by there?
I think in the elites, I believe nobody is taking performance-enhancing drugs. For one, we all get tested, and we get tested quite rigorously now. Like I've been tested, I think this probably about 8 to probably 10 times I've been tested in the last year, which you'd probably say is quite a lot. I don't know how often you get tested within triathlon, but 10 times in a year.
That's a decent amount. Like when I've been in the most in some years, it's probably been about 10 times. You know, like say at some races it might be like 4 or 5 times across the year at races, depending on like, you know, if you're on the podium, I'd say 5 times at races. And then I think if you're getting tested 5 times out a season, like through the year, that's like a decent amount. So I'd say like 10 times is pretty solid. Like it's right up there with like the most in other sports. And there's been some years where, to be honest, I've only been tested 3 times in a year, you know, like in total. So that's pretty solid.
Yeah. No, so I think with the Elite 15, I think that they're being tested. I think at the moment, like that's the best kind of evidence that you have that people aren't taking performance-enhancing drugs. In the normal races in Hyrox, yes, you do see bodybuilders doing Hyrox. You do see, like, no one gets tested within the normal. If you go and buy a ticket, you're not getting tested because it is just like amateur. It's just casual. For people who don't know, like testing is very, very expensive for kind of like a sport to do that, especially someone like Hyrox or Ironman, where it's got to come out of their pocket as well. Like it's only in their interest really to test the top guys or top women in the Elite 15. So your average Joe competition where you can just go and buy a ticket and go, like they're not going to test you. Gym culture nowadays, like there are a lot of people taking performance enhancing drugs, especially when there's more and more kind of research coming out about them and stuff like that, and you've got other things like the performance enhanced games and stuff like that. Like I think that's where people are probably looking at and thinking, whoa, if them guys are only running them times, then the elite guys must be on drugs. If they look like they're on drugs, they're running them times, and the elites are so much better, they must be on drugs. And it's just simply not the case. I think, like you say, everyone gets tested. Everyone's got sponsored. Like any sport, like every single sponsor, when you sign with a sponsor, you'd be dropped instantly. So it's never ever worth the risk, and it never would be, in my opinion. So I think it is just a lot of noise, and I think if you look at the physiques of the people in the Elite 15, I also think that they're not that impressive considering the amount, like you said, the amount of work that they're actually doing. Like,
compared to triathletes, mate, the there's not a high bar. We're comparing it to like a marathon runner or a triathlete.
No. But you've got to understand that these guys are doing like probably 10 hours of strength work a week as well as all the kind of endurance stuff. So it just, I think it naturally comes. And as well, we've not seen everyone that does Hyrox, because it's such a new sport. Everyone's come from another background, so they've come from another discipline. So some people have just started off in the gym,
Yeah.
And they've started training like that. Generally, that's like, yes, I did ultra running, but like I started just like lifting weights and bodybuilding and trying to kind of like you say, trying to build muscles so I can go on holiday and look cool. Like that,
Yeah.
that's just like that was the gym culture for a lot of years. And before this hybrid thing came around, like it was simply stupid to do running and bodybuilding. Like you're just cancelling out your gains. So you either chose one or chose the other. Fortunately, I just enjoyed them both. People did call me stupid, but that's how it is. But yeah, that's my kind of view on it. What's your view on it? Like, because obviously, especially I've heard more and more, like you say that about, hybrid training, and everyone's, there's a lot of performance enhancing drugs in hybrid training. Now that I've started to get more involved in the running world, a lot of people say running is like one of the dirtiest sports, and I don't know about you, but like I don't know much about it, like at all.
I think like you said, in the age group thing, like the amateurs in Hyrox, I would probably say I think there's probably loads of it, but I mean, are they really doing any harm? Because a lot of them aren't really doing it to win races. They're kind of just doing it to look good, aren't they? I don't think they're necessarily taking drugs to try and perform a Hyrox any better. I think they're doing it because they want to look good with their mates. They're doing a bit of gym training, and they're not really that arsed, are they? They can't, because I think a lot of the culture in Hyrox, when you see people going there, it's very like community based, isn't it? It's like gyms go, and like 20 or 30 people from a gym will all go, and like people are training at that gym and they might be taking something, but they're going to the Hyrox because they want to go with their mates and they want to have a good time, and like they're not really trying to they're not thinking I want to take it to get an elite 15 spot, are they? In terms of like the top level there, I honestly, like, I wouldn't have a clue, to be honest. Like, I mean, it's hard, I don't even know how hard people are working at the top level, are their performances really out of this world, like, because you know what I mean, like when you're running or you're in cycling and you're training with some people and you race them, you kind of know what you think's achievable, don't you? But for me, it's like I honestly have no idea. That's why I thought it would be interesting asking you, because you're in it, you're in that environment. But running, I think like there is a huge drug problem. Like Kenya, for instance, like so many runners have been banned from that, and I think that is ultimately setting some really unrealistic standards for European runners to try and chase, with like World Athletics putting qualifying times faster and faster, because a lot of Kenyans and East Africans are setting these huge times, but it's the agents that kind of get the runners into it, because they get them to take drugs. The runners generally take it because they're getting out of poverty, and unfortunately the agents are making thousands of pounds off the back of these runners, and when they get caught they just go to the next person, and the runners don't have anything to they've got nothing to go back to. Like if they didn't take running, they have nothing. They work on a farm. So, but I think that does set some really unrealistic standards for a lot of European athletes, and I think it's amazing that they've actually managed to get faster. But I do think that it puts a lot of people on kind of a bit of a tightrope, because they're chasing these times that they need to get selected for major championships, and injuries and burnout are going to be a massive thing, because it's like the standards are getting faster because World Athletics think that they're legit times that they're basing them off, but they're not. They're basing them off like times where like some Kenyan athletes have been like, juiced out of their eyeballs and like ran two, mega fast marathons. And I say that, juiced out of their eyeballs. I mean, like, the evidence is there. You can see, anyone can Google it and see how many Kenyans and East Africans have been banned in the last year. It's not like you're making it up. I mean, people can speculate about Hyrox, but at the end of the day, the testing seems, like you said, pretty decent, and not many people are getting caught, are they? I haven't heard of anyone who's been like a top Hyrox athlete who's like made I mean, it might happen, but I haven't seen anything in the media, where they said, oh, this person was up there in the elite 15s and he's been busted. But in athletics, there does seem there is a lot, but I think it's a lot of dodgy agents that are making money off the back of people, and I think that's the problem with a lot of how people get into drugs, or like, the drugs get into the sport. It's the agents, because they can make a lot of money and they're not the ones that are taking it, and they kind of force it onto the athletes. But that leads me to like the prize money in Hyrox. Like, to me, the prize money seems like it's way below like subpar from what it should be. I mean, like, I heard that London, the Hyrox in London, had 40,000 people take part over 3 or 4 days, however many days it was, and there wasn't even like a professional race there. I don't understand that. Like, I mean, in my eyes, there should be an Elite 15 race at every single Hyrox. Like, they're amazing to watch, or like some sort of professional race that they film and put on YouTube. It's easy for them to film. Like, they just have standing cameras. They get it all. Like, they film every single station really easily. The run-in, like, do they have like a car or something that goes around on there? I mean, it seems like they film it really well. And I don't understand why there's not more pro racing. Like, it's so exciting at the moment. The sport's on a buzz. Why is there not pro racing at every single one?
I think that's kind of the one, because there's not much prize money, or like the Elite 15 don't get paid for being in the Elite 15, if that makes sense. Like, you only get paid for like the position that you come, for example, and then again, it's not too much money. So we won a doubles major the other day, and we got $10,000, but that's split between two of us. Because we're a doubles, so we got 10,000 between us, and then $5,000, which seems like a lot of money. But then when you're flying over to Australia, you've got to get there, 2 weeks before to settle in, adapt. You're then, I bring over my coach, I bring over a videographer, because I need to make content for people as well, because I can't make a living just off the prize money. It then turns into nothing, and it's still an expense. That trip probably cost me, I think, $20,000 for that trip, just going over there with everything. So like, I'm still losing money by going to these events. Where athletes make their money is through sponsors, and at the moment they have 5 major races a year and a world champ, so 6 major races a year. And I think that's just how many people can afford. And I'd say I'm probably one of the better paid athletes through sponsors in the Elite 15. Some people have only just made the switch to going full time within the Elite 15. So it's one of them. It's a lot of investment from the athlete to kind of get into the position. So if there was one, every single week or every, couple of weeks, then I don't think people would be able to afford to travel. As well, with like, if you're in the Elite 15, to perform, you've got, like with Ironman, you pick your races per year, and you need to put a solid training block in before, and you need to peak for these races. If it is like a league, for example, and it's every week, every 2 weeks, then you're never really peaking. You've just got one off season where you can make your gains, and then you're just kind of maintaining all season, and that's what you see within team sports. So it's one of them. What do you want? Do you want people to have a proper chance to train for every Elite 15 race, or do you want it to be more of a spectacle where you're getting, solid viewers every single week? And yeah, I just think it's a bit of a trade-off, but I think that is potentially coming. I think they want the Elite 15 to race a little bit more. They're going to change kind of like the qualifying rules next season. I think it's more in line with like Ironman World Championships, where because the courses are all different as well. Like they've tried to make the courses as consistent as possible, but unfortunately it's just impossible, because if you think about the sled, especially the sleds, the friction from the sled carpet and the actual sled is going to be different every single time, because humidity plays a role, even things like air pressure, elevation. You've got the actual sleds, the wear and tear of them, the wear and tear of the carpets, and then you've got the surface underneath the carpets. And if it's done at a different expedition centre every single time, you're not going to have the surface below isn't going to be the same. So the friction's always going to be different, and that's just like one element. Obviously, setting up the course, making sure that it's exactly 1 kilometre as well is very hard, especially when you've got expedition centres where sometimes there's 2 laps, sometimes there's 3 laps, sometimes there's 1 lap. You've then got different rock zone lengths and stuff like that. So they try and manage it as best as possible, and I think they do a great job, but it's never going to be the most consistent. So they've changed the qualifying times now to not just to be just off times. So at the moment it is your mean average of your top 2 times. So you get 2 best times, and your mean average will put you in a list, and if you're in the top 15 you get entered into an Elite 15 major. Now it's going to be your top 5 races, and it's where you place racing against other people within the top, like them top 5 races. So it's going to be different, but again, because it's top 5 and not just top 2, you're going to probably have to race probably 12 to 15 times a year, maybe more. There's
nothing worse, is there? Or you haven't seen anger until you see a hybrid athlete pick the wrong lane for the sled push, and then that's when you really see anger, isn't it? When they know that they've like picked the lane where the carpet's getting all rutted and everything, and the one next to them's like smooth, and that I've seen people kick right off online about that. One thing I wanted to say to you, and I should have brought this up a little bit earlier, was, and I'll probably leave it there after this, and because I'm conscious of how much time I've taken. I know you're like getting ready for the marathon and stuff, and you've got a busy day. But what was your mindset with you and your teammate for the doubles after you had that race in Australia? You said you finished 11th, he finished 13th, so obviously you both didn't do as well as what you hoped, and you were probably both a bit downbeat. How did you come back from that disappointment to a superb race the next day? What did you both say to each other, and how did you both get the best out of each other? Because you both must have pumped each other up, and you must have, you must have brought out the best in each other for the following day. And obviously you've got the fatigue and disappointment. You've travelled all the way around the world. It must have been a roller coaster of emotions, that 48 hours.
No, for sure. And one of the things that kind of relieved a little bit of pressure for me personally was we'd already qualified for World Champs. So how you have 5 majors per year, and top 3 of each major get into the World Championships. And then that makes up your 15 for the World Championships. So this was the second major of the season. The first major, me and him already qualified. So we came 3rd together. So we'd already qualified. So that took off a little bit of pressure that we qualified for the doubles already. So we went into that race. Yes, we'd had a shocker the night before. I actually met James for a coffee, so my partner James, that morning of the doubles race, and he was contemplating not even racing. He was like, I had a shocker yesterday, something's up, I feel like I'm
and you're like, no mate, you need to race. I've travelled to Australia, you're flipping racing.
I might have said that in my head, but mate, to him, to him, I was like, on a scale of 1 to 10, like 10 being the worst, like how bad do you feel right now? How low do you feel right now? And he was like, I feel the lowest that I can feel. I was like, well, what's the worst that can happen tonight then? If we go and race, what's the worst? We come last and you feel exactly the same as you do now, or we go out there and you try and kind of like redeem yourself, and we'll redeem ourselves together. Like if you want me to do more of the work, then I'm happy to. Let's just go out and try it. And he was like, you know what, you're right. Let's go and give it a go. And I think that just kind of like took all the pressure off. Like, yeah, he said in the warm-up zone, he said, mate, if I'm feeling good, we're going to go for it. We're going to go for the win. And you
must have thought, fucking hell, 1 minute we weren't racing.
Yeah.
Win. This is
exactly. I was like, this is what I like seeing you, James. I like this. So, and that's exactly what we did. We just went out and we had fire in our bellies, which is good. I think lack of pressure, I think that's one. And then I think there's something to do with it as well. Like, I don't think, and this is probably like a topic that I don't think has been probably, I think it's person dependent, but a deload week is very, very person dependent in my opinion. I don't think there's a perfect way to do it and I've definitely not found my perfect deload into a race, but when that first race, I always perform better on the second day. So even though my legs are short, I'm tired, I'm sore, I've been up all night because I've had caffeine for that first race, I always feel better on that second race. And I feel horrible going into it. Like when I'm warming up, I'm feeling, really stiff.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't want to race. And then my performance says different. And I don't know if it's the adrenaline. I don't know if it's just the you're in that kind of, your body feels like it's in war. I don't know. But yeah.
And do you think a lot of it is the mental part of it? It's like, you've done a big race the day before, so you kind of like take the pressure off a bit on yourself. You're like, I went all out the day before. if I haven't got anything today, there's no kind of like shame on that, you know, like no one would expect you to have your best performance the next day. So automatically just there's no pressure, is there? Whereas the first race, it's like, I've tapered for this, I'm fresh for this. It's all about me. There's no, you know, and also when you do the doubles, it's like, you don't want to let that person down, even though that person wouldn't think that you're letting them down. In your head, you're like, I don't want them to think that I didn't give it my all and they're giving 100%, you know. So you kind of like go above and beyond because you're like, I don't want them to think that I'm a fucking slacker, you know, like I'm not taking my weight. So you kind of push it hard. Then they're looking at you, and James was like, flipping heck, Jake's like smashing it. I can't let him down. And then you're in the hunt for a result, and you're like, well, we could win this here, and I don't want to be the reason why we don't win it. So you both push each other. I can imagine it's actually pretty hard doing the doubles and actually so intense, because when you're running, no one wants to be the one that's letting the other person down, do they? And then you're on the stations and you want to be the one who's at least pulling your weight. And yeah, it looks really fun. I can imagine it's extremely hard as well, but I bet the emotions when you do get a good result like that are amazing. When you kind of, because normally in them kind of sports, like the endurance sports, it's all about you, isn't it? Like when you do the marathon, it's down to you. I know there's like team that's helping you, but you don't share that platform with anyone, do you? You know, whereas when you're doing the Hyrox doubles, it's like it's you and someone else that are both out there together on the field of play, aren't you? And it's just you're there to help each other, aren't you? You know, and to get each other through in the fastest and best way that you can. And I bet when you do get a result, I bet it's an amazing feeling.
Oh yeah, it's there's nothing better. Like, I do prefer the doubles for that reason, that you can share your victories, and it makes losing feel better as well. We've not really had a bad race, me and James, but I suspect like when you do lose, like that you're still in it together, like
yeah.
So it's probably not as bad. So I don't think the blows as bad. Whereas like, you know, when you've had a bad race, it's all on you.
Yeah.
And it's so I think that's what's good about team sports, and that's what I missed from just playing Sunday League when I was younger. Like you know, it doesn't matter just on your performance; it's the team. But it's so good when you win. You can go and celebrate after. Like we always go for a nice meal. Myself, James, his family, my team that I bring with me, or sponsors or whatever. And it's nice to celebrate with people, and yeah, just remember the good times. So it is cool. I absolutely love it. Are you feeling good for the season ahead then?
It's too far away for me to say that, really. It's gone well at the moment, but in terms of like how I'll perform, it's just too long. Like so much can happen in 12 weeks, can't they? But I'm in a good place. I would say I'm in a great place for this time of year. If I can keep progressing the training and doing well, then I should. It couldn't go any worse than the last 2 years. Last 2 years have been really tough, really challenging, but the training's gone really well at the moment, and you can only give it your best, can't you? And then, you know, you can give it 100% in training, and at least I can then say I did everything I could. But I feel like I'm in a great position, like for this time of year, and I just need to keep the momentum going. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm really motivated. Like seeing all you guys like competing as well, and like everything, it kind of gets you fired up. Especially when you see people having good results, it kind of gives you that. You kind of think, well, I want to get out there and like, you know, do a race and stuff like that. So I enjoy like talking to people like yourself, and when I had like Phil Sessman on the other week, and obviously like seeing like that Alex Yee do a really quick marathon, it kind of I like to see that, and it kind of motivates me and makes me want to get out there racing. So seeing you guys all do well definitely kind of helps me.
I love that, because you can either look at it one or two ways. It can either be a massive motivator, like you just said, and you can be happy for them people, but it can motivate you in a great positive way, or you could turn around and be jealous and be like, oh, like I don't want them to do well because I want to do better, or whatever. And I love the mindset that you have. Do you know that is the prior, the first one. It's cool. But you mentioned this is the first one, the first podcast of 2026. Did you set your kind of like 2026 goals? Have you got your goals in mind?
For getting people on the show?
Anything? Let's go from an athlete side first. Have you got any? What's your goals for 2026?
God, I'd like to get the season started off on a really good footing. Really, like Oceanside, that's a strong competitive 70.3. It's one of the top ones in like the North American season, and I would love to get a top 5. I was like 11th the other year, but I really feel like my swim's gone really well and my running's going really well at the moment. And when I did that race, I didn't have that great a bike, so I'd love to get a top 5 there. And to be honest, I just want to win another Ironman. Like, I don't want to have had my last win, so I really, really want to win an Ironman. I don't care what one, I just want to win one. And like, I'd be really, really, I'd be made up if I could just win one more. So like, that's what I want to do, and that's what is motivating me over the winter, you know, is just think, give everything you've got, and at least you can look in the mirror at the end of the day and you can say, I went 110%, I couldn't change anymore, and I couldn't have done any more, and whatever I got was the best I could have done. And that's all you can do, isn't it? I would hate to look in the mirror and be like, oh, I half-assed that, you know, I gave it 90%, and I might have been able to win one if I'd have done more. I'd rather do everything I can and fail than do 80%, 90%, and have questions and have, you know, doubts, you know, on like what could have happened. So yeah, that's what I'm kind of going into this year, just thinking, give it everything, and then you can at least be happy knowing that you couldn't have done any more. But
amazing. And then with the podcast, who's your for 2026? Who's your dream guest? Have you got one,
mate? To be honest, you know what? I don't really have like any dream guests like that. I just like seeing people that are doing good things, you know, and like train hard for something. Like, you know, for instance, like you training for the 220 marathon. And I've got to admit, like, if I went back like 3 months ago, I was didn't think you were going to be able to do it. But seeing how well your training's gone and how well everything, I find it super inspiring. And to see, and the reason I say I didn't think you could do it wasn't because I didn't think you were capable of it. It was probably because I didn't think you had a long enough block going into it, and from where I saw where you were starting. But then after seeing how well your training went through December and your sessions that you were putting in, me and my mate were saying, the progress is phenomenal. And we're like, God, if he didn't do it in Houston, maybe he should sign up to Seville in another 4 weeks' time, because there's probably a quicker course in another 4 weeks on your belt marathon. I think you'd do it then.
I think that potentially might be the plan. Like, do you know, I put a post out yesterday, like, the marathon is such a humbling distance, and there's so many things that are out of your control that you can be in the best shape of your life, but it still might not go to plan on the day. You might get a hamstring cramp, you might get something that just stops you in your tracks. And I think it was Clayton Young actually that I was following, and he said one thing that like really motivated me was fitness is stacked. And he just said them words on one of the end of his posts. I think he went and did the Tokyo Marathon, was it? I think.
Yeah.
And he didn't get the time that he wanted, but he was like, ah well, fitness is stacked. And it just means that your training isn't wasted at all. Like, your training's still there. You are as fit as you were in training. It just might not have shown on race day. And that's what I've took away from kind of like this prep. The main things that I'm proud of is that I've got faster, and that's shown because I've hit like half marathon PBs within training. I've knocked a minute off my 10K, and these are things that I can just take into my Hyrox. And that was the main challenge. This is the main reason I set this challenge of breaking 220, or trying to, is to get better at running. And the biggest kind of thing that I found was I felt like I always had the fitness, if that makes sense, but I didn't have the running mechanics or mobility. I could run 330Ks all day in my head, but as soon as I got quicker than that and tried running 315, I started off running 1 kilometres at that, and I could not run. And I think it was, I had like a running biomechanics assessment and things like that. And basically my hip structure and my hips were that tight from the lifting that I used to externally rotate my feet. And basically, as soon as I went over or went faster than a 320 per kilometre pace, I had duck feet. So that's less inefficient. That's less efficient. So I had to work on my mobility. I had to work on my running mechanics by, incorporating strides after every easy run and things like that. And the amount of improvement I've seen is huge. Along with that, I've been an absolute nightmare. My girlfriend can vouch for that. Like this, I've been like a robot for the last 2 weeks. The last 2 months. I've been in my kitchen doing a sweat session every single day, like on the bike. Like, it's absolutely grim. It's disgusting, but like there's not one thing that I've not ticked off.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get it done on Sunday. If we don't get it done on Sunday, then I probably will end up doing Seville or something else. So yeah.
Good luck with it. And I'm sure that all of us that are listening to this are wishing you the best of luck. And no matter what happens, like you say, you can take away that great training block that you've had. That hasn't gone anywhere, but I think you've got a really good chance of doing it. Like, I think if you execute the race you can, I would definitely say now that I'm thinking that you can do it. Like that 108 half you did in training was really solid, and to do that in a training block tapered on race day, you've got to be in with a shot mate of sub 220. Like if I did the training that you had done, I'd be going there with a sub 220 in mind. So I think you're in the shape for it, and if you can execute your best race, you're going to get it. If you execute a good race and you get good conditions on your side, I think you've got it, mate. So thanks for coming.
Thank you, Joe. No, I really appreciate it. And like I say, keep doing what you're doing, because aside from motivating people with your athletic career and, going smashing Ironmans, whether it's 70.3s or the full thing, you doing this show and inspiring people on, like you're doing your job of inspiring. You've inspired me anyway. So thank you. I really do appreciate it. You don't know how many people you're impacting, I think.
Cheers. Thanks, mate, and good luck with the marathon.
Thank you.